Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I created this piece. Please forgive the name, I know it's not very imaginative, but anyways, I started mixing acrylic paints into this really gorgeous red colour to form the beginnings of this piece, and then I got an old wooden panel and primed it with gesso and then put this colour on top. I really hate using white as a starting point, it kind of scares me, so this just gives me a really nice base to start with. Then I mixed a lighter colour, I mean any colour would do really, because I'm using this to sketch out the painting. I used to use pencil to draw out the picture beforehand, but then I found that I enjoyed this just a bit more. And it's going to look really messy, but just stick with it. I did make a few mistakes when I was sketching out the piece, but because I used acrylic, it dried really fast, so I could just erase the mistake, no problem. And again, I know this looks really weird, but just trust the process. Then the most fun part, which is mixing paints. I ended up with a palette filled with really red, pinky, warm tones. As for brushes, I used a palette knife, a mix of smaller brushes for finer detail, a really old feathered brush for blending, and then a larger, flatter brush for any larger areas that I had to cover with a lot of paint. And then I got straight into painting, starting with the darkest places on the face. I always find this part of the piece, right at the beginning, the worst. I get really anxious just because I think that it looks awful every time, but I think you've just got to remember that it's always going to look bad at the start and you've just got to keep at it. After I've done the darkest parts, I do a full 180 and go in with the lighter colours on all the places that the light would be hitting the face the most, and then I get the middle ground colours and fill the space in between. And then blend like crazy, but not too much, otherwise it'll look too smooth. A tip that I got a while ago was to actually avoid ever using black paint, and instead I use a mix of dark brown, blue and red, and this actually forms a really deep, almost purple sort of shade, which just adds a bit of depth to the shadows rather than it being this flat black paint. Then this is what the first layer of paint looks like. Again, I know it looks weird, but just trust the process. Honestly, I always really look forward to adding these white dots into the eyes whenever I draw a portrait. And it's time for a coffee break, and I mixed up some greens for the clover. I really love painting faces and figures, but I've always really struggled with the backgrounds of pieces, or I guess in this case the foreground. And in this I wanted to include a huge mountain of clover around her, so I just held my breath and crossed my fingers and took the risk and painted the first layer of green. And then I went straight back to my comfort zone and worked on the face a bit more, adding in some more saturated colours just to really make the face stand out. Then I decided to add some freckles, but they looked very flat at first, so I had to blend it out with my blending brush. Honestly, this clover took a million years to finish. I really sat there and painted every single individual leaf, but I think it was worth it. And then I think she is finished. I'm honestly really happy with everything, from the hands to the face to the clover, and I'm really glad I recorded it so that I could share this process. Thank you so much for watching. This is actually the first commentary video I've made, so bear with me, I'm still learning, and I plan on making a handful more in the future, so I'll see you soon.